All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Lorcana Chats. I am Chris, aka Questing for Lore, and with me today I have a another well-known member of the Lorcana community and fellow content creator, Nive. Uh, Nive, would you like to introduce yourself a little
Hello.
bit?
Hi, yes, I am Nive, also known as Nive the Nerd on the site formerly known as Twitter. I also have a channel called Nive's Nerd Corner. We'll be getting into what I do a lot for the community, but I do a lot of data analysis for it for Lorcana, and I also do a lot of limited content whenever I get the chance to.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so your background is in kind of data and analytics and that kind of stuff, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I have a degree in actuarial sciences and statistics, and I've been working with sports statistics um, in a somewhat competitive level since I was 13.
Oh, wow.
Just yep, being a manager of some of varying levels, including being a uh, sort of data scout for
Mhm.
my college's women's basketball team for a couple years while I was a student.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's cool, I'm sure, to be able to carry that over into into a game like Lorcana where there's so much data to work with just in
so
general.
much.
Yeah. And you played other TCGs before, like mainly I think we were talking mainly Magic, right?
Yeah, I've dabbled with other games. As you can see, there's a Quaxley. It's my spirit Pokemon. But no, I played a lot of Magic. I've been playing Magic for 11 years now. I used to say 10, but now we're not now at 11 years. And then yeah, that's kind of been the only TCG that's kind of stuck to me with the level of Magic or Lorcana. So, yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
my gaming experience.
Okay. So I always like to ask for the origin story for all my guests. What originally drew you to Lorcana? I mean, obviously it's a TCG, but what was the
Yeah.
first thing?
So the first thing that got to me was the fact that it was Disney.
Mhm.
So most of the time, 9 times out of 10, when Disney does something, it's successful. At least to the point to where it still remains for a couple years.
Mhm.
And when it was revealed at D23 2 years ago, Magic was in this kind of rough patch. So I was kind of emotionally looking for a way out. And I've been wanting to do content creation for a long time, but felt like I couldn't really do it into Magic because I wasn't there at the very beginning. So
Right.
when I saw Lorcana coming out, I was like, hey, I can do that. I can do content creation. I like Disney. I like card games. I don't know what these cards do, but Stitch is a rock star.
Yep, yep.
So that's kind of what got me hooked into Lorcana.
Nice, nice. And you were making content back in September 2022, like
Yes.
before anything was really known. I mean,
Yeah,
there was like one card image or something. I know they had
we
Brave Little Taylor, right?
we had Brave Little Taylor, and then we had the first D23 kit that had Cruella, um I think the Amber one was Stitch, then
Mhm.
Captain Hook, oh gosh, and all the others. I don't remember all of them. But yeah, we didn't know what the flourishes were. We didn't know what a challenge was.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't even know what the pips on the side of the card were. We just saw
Oh,
the
wow.
art and the rule stacks, and like a number of us were hooked. Me, Lumiteers, Jaunty,
Hmm.
a lot of us just started creating content around the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. The OGs, as you put it before we started recording.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I was when I first heard about it, it was a similar kind of thing, right? I was like, oh, it's Disney, of course, love Disney. Um, but I had played Magic back in the day and way, way back in the day. But never really got into it as much. But it was cool to be I wasn't in there for the first chapter, but I got in under Floodborn. But still to feel like you're kind of in that initial group, right? You can
Hmm.
kind of get a feeling and help build up the community and and try to, contribute back if you want to, or just, play and just enjoy it when
Yeah.
it's kind of in its infancy, more or less. And
Mhm.
now we've just passed a year, which is kind of crazy. It's already gone, it's gone fast.
Very fast year, very fast.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you don't just do your own content. You're all over the place as well. Like you're showing up on the Illumineers, you've got some other you were on Lorcana After Dark for a while as a co-host. There's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of learned that I can't really do videos on a consistent basis.
Hmm.
So I've learned that like I can jump onto other people's and like build them up. I do drop my draft guide every set. That's kind of
Hmm.
like my big video for every set. And I put in an occasional video here and there, but a lot of my stuff is data related stuff for DLCs and stuff on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the posts that you've done. It's always really interesting to get that kind of analysis after the fact,
Hmm.
because you kind of get a feel for it if you're watching some of the live streams and everything, but to actually see, which decks were played, how often, how'd they do, all that kind of stuff is really cool to see condensed down into
Yeah.
that format and everything. But I appreciate all the work that you put in on that. I know it's it's something above and beyond just getting out there and looking at it, looking up that stuff yourself. But and I'm
Yeah.
sure lots of other folks in the community appreciate it as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is a passion that I have. It's something that I think the community not desperately, but really likes and wants.
mhm,
I know that it's something that I really appreciated when I was more invested in the Magic, that I liked seeing that kind of data. And so
mhm.
if I can supply it, then I am more than happy to.
And do you usually go and like actually gather this information yourself, or are there resources that you usually hit up or?
So Um, mostly I hop onto the Melee accounts or onto
Hmm.
melee.gg and I kind of go through and sift through the standings and the match results through there. And then by sheer luck, someone kind of pops out the deck percentages and representations. And
Oh,
so
okay.
then because sometimes it's on the live stream, sometimes it's
Hmm.
leaked in another way. But once it's out in the public, it's in the public. I'm scooping it up and
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
present it in the way that is good for the public.
Nice. Nice. And so you've been doing this or doing the content creation stuff since 2022. Um, so what was one of the hardest things that you found about like kind of getting started doing it or have
Um,
found since then, I guess?
yeah. So one of the things that happened was even though I'm one of the first content creators, my channel hasn't necessarily blown up. Now there's a lot of reasons for that. Most of them my fault, but um, I'm not gonna lie and say that it didn't affect my ego and it didn't affect my confidence. That seeing all these other great people growing their channels and being able to have great opportunities. Um, but one of the things that kind of just came to me is like, hey, you weren't doing it for that. You weren't doing it necessarily for the intention, or if you were, that says something about you.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things that I kind of learned at this point is like, hey, if you love doing it, who cares if there's four people watching?
Yeah.
If there's four people or 4,000, you're doing what you love and you're gonna find your people eventually.
Yep, yep, definitely. Yeah, there's I know that's one of the really the biggest thing that I talk to a lot of people that they have a problem with. It's, you want to see those numbers go up. You want to see, people engaging with your posts and everything or tweets or whatever you want to call them
Yeah.
these days. You want to see this kind of like that validation, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, if you're not doing it because you enjoy it and because you love what you're doing, then all the numbers in the world aren't going to matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yep. So if you had one piece of advice to give to someone who wanted to start off with doing some content creation work, what would that be?
Um, find the thing that you've always been passionate about and connect and present it. Just if you like music, make some music. Make some if you like data, try to find a way to connect your passions together. There are other people in the world that share your passions and they will find you.
Mhm.
Even if it's something as niche as you like cooking and Lorcana and you make Lorcana themed dishes. It's
Yep.
like we have Smorkana and Into the Drinklands. Like we
Yep.
have two content creators inside that niche already. So it is not necessarily a trick, but it's a very cool thing and a much more fulfilling thing to find your passions and just if you're going to share things, if you're going to be a content creator, share the things that you love. Like
Yep.
that's what I share. It's like if you're not like we go through again, it's like if you do not enjoy it, then don't. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like unless it's your livelihood, which let's be honest, it's not.
No.
Right.
No.
At our at the level of Lorcana content these days, it is not our livelihood. So if
No.
you're not having fun with it, everyone in the community understands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think some people, they don't really think through the level of investment on a lot of this
Oh, there's so
stuff.
much investment.
Um,
I learned that
there's
fast too.
so well, and like the stuff for this channel, most of my stuff is conversation based, but there's a lot of people out there that make, deck reviews and in-depth kind of stuff. I mean, some of yours is that way. And that stuff takes time. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of editing time for for putting something like that together.
Yeah.
But I think, a lot of people don't really think through that, unfortunately, or, they want to do oh, I see this other podcast putting out stuff once a week. I can totally do once a week and not even thinking
Yeah.
of real life, and I think,
Exactly.
that's why we've seen some folks step back. It's been
Yeah.
like, okay, I think I've done this, or, I've accomplished what I wanted to, or this other thing is more important to me now, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right?
Yeah, it's in fact that's healthy. Like
Yeah.
for for at the level where we're at for like the majority of content creators in general, but especially for Lorcana, content creation is a hobby on top of being a Lorcana player.
Right, right.
Like so so I don't blame anyone who goes, "Hey, I want to kind of reorientate everything, make if and if they realize that content creation is just too much, and I don't mean that in like a oh you can't handle it, but like a
Right.
you know families, friendships,
Oh yeah.
things outside of these four walls that are our screens.
Yep.
Those are very important. And honestly, if someone said that they're leaving Lorcana forever because they'd rather spend time with their family, I would 100% support them in that.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah.
They would be missed, of course, but yeah,
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
it's
And we'll miss you.
understandable.
But yeah, like this is a hobby.
Yep. Well, and
And
honestly,
yeah.
it's, even for like, employment and everything,
Mhm.
to set those expectations correctly, to say, yeah, I mean, I work from home, so
Yeah.
I have to I'm not going to an office where someone can see me sitting at a desk for certain hours, during the day. So you have to set those right expectations,
Yeah.
right, to be able to say these are the times that I'm working, and if it's not these times, I'm sorry, you know.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't have as much luxury with that, and they can't do that as
No.
well, but um but it's the same kind of thing, setting the right expectations for when you're creating this stuff is everything.
Mhm.
And, so many people, they just burn out too quick because they
Mhm.
think they can, do it all. And
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
not that easy.
in the 2 years I've been doing content for Lorcana, I have disappeared for 3 months twice.
Okay.
Like just because life happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so like
Um,
there's nothing wrong with that. Anyone like go at your own pace, go with your own passions. If anyone puts expectations on you and you fail those expectations in their mind, that is entirely their problem.
Yep. Yep, definitely.
Especially if it's a person who has no bearing on your physical actual life.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, it's, okay, so you disappointed them because you didn't put out a new episode or a new a new video deck
Yeah.
review or anything. It's like, okay, it's not the end of the world.
Oh
It's,
no, my entertainment.
I mean, it's not like
Sorry.
there's not lots
Yeah.
of other potential
Yeah.
sources out there,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, and I know we also have a lot of folks that are just getting started too.
Yeah.
I've seen in the past couple of days, there's been some folks that are like, yeah, we're gonna start up a podcast, or we're gonna start doing articles each week. It doesn't even necessarily have to be videos and podcast
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of text-based stuff that comes out as well, which is great. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think it's a sign of a good, healthy community too, that there's a wide variety already. Like I
Oh
said, we're just a
goodness.
year
Yeah.
in, so but yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask before we get off this subject,
Oh yes.
marbles. Where
Marbles. Yes.
where
My
did
boy
marbles
Marbles.
come from?
So, marbles actually comes from an inside joke within my close college group. Um, for those we're in the nerd community, we know what Dungeons and Dragons is, most of us.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but in case you don't know, Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game where you basically have one person who is like running a video game kind of thing in real life, and you have a bunch of friends that play as the main characters. And so I was the dungeon master for our group. And
Okay.
so one time they're in the sewers and they come across this little guy in this one area, and he's obsessed with marbles. He calls them marbles, but they're actually crystal balls and so he
Okay.
has like this entire chamber full of crystal balls. And for some reason, that whole like interaction scene just stuck with us forever. Like some of them because I had him talking like this all the whole time.
Ah,
And
really
so
getting into it. All right.
yeah, yeah. And so he's like, "Ah, I see the marbles and stuff like that. But and for some people it was like, oh my gosh, that was the most hilarious thing. And another person was scared to death because they knew that what he was, which is a mind flayer. I've kind
Hmm.
of made him more copyright friendly,
Yeah.
so he's just
Yep.
he's just
Cute little guy.
a cephalid. But yeah, no. So it was just a thing that kind of stuck, and it actually kind of connects well with me because he's just a cute little guy, but he
Hmm.
has like this kind of cult robe and all that stuff, which like kind of connects with my background and stuff. So I don't know. It
Yeah.
just felt like a good connection.
Well, cool. Cool, cool. Do you want to talk about that background? I mean, I don't
Oh
know how
yeah,
open you
yeah,
are.
yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, for those who don't know, I actually grew up in a cult. If you are familiar with the movie starring Kevin Bacon, Footloose, um, there is the pastor and the church and the culture in that movie um is very mild compared to how I grew up. There is a form of Christianity called independent fundamentalism
mhm.
that is incredibly legalistic and incredibly strict, to the point that I was verbally yelled at for high-fiving my female cousin.
Oh my gosh.
That is in that kind of level of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually in the process of becoming a pastor within that denomination for a
Okay.
long time, but what happened was I was playing basketball one day and completely demolished my ankle to the point that I couldn't walk or anything.
Oh no.
And our church was not wheelchair accessible. So I had to go to another church, and that's kind of where everything kind of broke and everything like that. So it's a really
Mm.
cool thing that happened to me. It's a thing that helps me kind of it gives me a perspective that no one else really has.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I'm able to sympathize with a lot of people that it can be difficult for a lot of other people. just because of the experiences I have.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I'm very open to talking about that subject. I mean, there are podcasts worth of information that can be shared through that. But
Oh, I have no doubt.
but yeah, so that's kind of what I mean by my upbringing. I grew up basically in a hyper religious cult.
Hmm.
And one of my rebellious things was watching Disney movies.
There you go.
That was
As
my
as
rebellion.
far as rebellion, that's pretty tame. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's cool. That's cool that it was
yeah,
kind of like an escape to get to
yeah,
watch that stuff. We'll talk at the end more about favorite movies and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff
absolutely.
too. But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah,
Um, so let's see. I'm trying to think. We've already talked about some of this stuff. I'm
yeah, we
looking at my
did.
notes because if I don't write things down, then I will not remember to talk about them. So,
Oh, I am the same way.
oh, you know what? I saw you on Lorcana karaoke the other day.
Yes, with Brando, yes.
Yeah, that looks pretty fun. And I
Oh,
have
it's
to
so fun.
say, I am very impressed with your like encyclopedic level of knowledge about Lorcana. There's some of those questions that, like, especially the trivia questions that you were just like listing off like songs, in the different inks and everything, trying to count through them. And I
Yeah.
was like, I can't remember five of those, much less, 40 of them or however many there are. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
So yeah, my brain just seems to have a knack of memorizing things like that. And so
Hmm.
it helps a lot in TCGs, helps a lot whenever you're a dungeon master if you have everything memorized. Um it's just something that if I have a passion for it, I just can soak it up. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's ever a trivia competition, I know who I want on my team.
oh absolutely I'm a monster at trivia in my area.
I have no doubt. No, that's awesome. So okay, I do want to talk about Shimmering Skies
Yes,
because
Shimmering Skies.
we are, what's it, a couple of days at the time of recording this until the big
Wow.
box release. So, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the Tuesday before big box release.
Right. Yep. Yep. So I know you've done all the number crunching and all the card evaluation and everything. Um, so are there any particular cards that you're like really excited about for Shimmering Skies?
Yeah, so I am just like everyone else, I'm hyped for Mufasa.
Hmm.
Mufasa is just an absolute beast of a wonderful card. And because it does things that I have wanted there to be a thing for. Like
Hmm.
I've wanted the mechanic of being able to interact with the inkwell
Right.
since the beginning. And so Mufasa being able to grab two cards from the inkwell is really cool. And I like it a lot. It also reminds me of one of my favorite magic cards.
Hmm.
Um, just that kind of being able to use your resources twice
Right.
kind of effects. Um, I am also very high on a card that a lot of people that I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on, which is
Hmm.
Elsa's Ice Palace.
Oh, okay.
I really think that is being slept on.
Hmm.
Um, for those who do not know, because it is such a sleeper card, it is a three cost on inkable location in Amethyst. Four willpower, one lore, and whenever it enters play, you choose an exerted character, and it just remains exerted until the Ice Palace leaves. So you basically get to lock
Oh,
down
wow.
your opponent's Smee, your opponent's Mufasa's, just and with the since you're in Amethyst, you can exert things down normally. So you can
Right.
exert something down or just have them naturally exert it because they have to exert it to do anything. And
Hmm.
then Elsa's Ice Palace freezes it up.
That's pretty crazy. I hadn't seen that one.
They you can free if you're on the play, you can freeze Daisy after one quest.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it
I
can be
could see how that
used.
could be handy.
Yep, it can be used both aggressively and defensively, and
Huh.
it's one lore, so like it's a lore generator,
Yeah, yeah.
and and it's 4 willpower, so it's going to stick around for at least a little bit.
Yeah. Have you seen any decks so far that people
I have
have?
not seen anyone play it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
I
given
I
how
I
much of a
have
surprise it
yeah,
was, I was like, oh,
yeah. I have I have two in my hyper aggro deck that I have
okay,
listed. Um, but that is my secret spice dark horse choice for the set.
okay. Have you gotten to try it out very much?
I have not. Unfortunately, I live in an area where Lorcana is not that big,
Hmm,
in person,
okay.
and my online friends we seem to be passing ships
Ah, okay.
recently, so we haven't been able to test that well. But I'm hoping I can get enough testing to where I feel ready for Vegas because I'm heading
Oh
down
yeah,
there.
coming up soon.
That's 4 weeks away.
Hmm.
Oh gosh.
Got to get that practice in. Yep.
I gotta get them reps in.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it's harder. I get it. I'm in a relatively rural area too. We have one LGS and thankfully they do happen to have it. We have a league that's got about 12 people or so.
Oh,
So it's not
nice.
terrible, but
That's really
I
good.
mean it's not I say terrible. It's not like, massive or anything like that, but
Yeah, it's not
it's a
50
good group.
people in Seattle, but it's
Right,
it's it's
right.
enough people to
Oh
where
my
you're not
goodness.
facing the same person every night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we have there's a city that's about 2 hours away, two and a half, something like that, and they have a couple of stores down there. And
Yeah.
so, whenever set champs rolls around, we can always have a little bit of option, at
Oh,
least.
did you say set championships?
Uh-oh.
Did someone say set championships?
Oh, look at that. Putting us to shame, both of them.
Yeah, I sold 3 of these because I won a play set of them.
Oh, really?
Yep, and then I
Wow.
won a second stitch and sold that one. So that's how I'm going to Vegas.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
And then I have a champion playmat for each of those sets as well.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
where did you play if you don't really have like a big scene there?
So since we don't really have I don't have a big scene in my hometown.
Hmm.
There is a college town about half an hour away that
Ah,
has a
okay.
couple stores. Um, but in my hometown, it's a population of one. Hi.
All right.
So if I want to go to a competitive event, there is one half an hour away, but otherwise, it's kind of dead, sadly.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I like that Lorcana is getting more popular and growing and
Yes.
everything. But it's kind of like that whole chicken and the egg problem, right? It
Hmm.
needs to grow to a certain point to get to an LGS, but you can't really get to an LGS until it's grown to a certain point. It's like,
Exactly.
how is it supposed to grow?
And
Not
like,
not that they're not doing a
yeah.
great job with
Oh
really
yeah,
getting out
no.
and promoting it, but
We our store gets like some people come in that like gets product and stuff. The
Mhm.
trick is just trying to go like, hey, if you want to play with other people, there is one other person who is really, really good. Um, hmm.
Yeah, it's
But
tough.
you
I
get a
mean,
free
I
pin.
I feel for the people that, that either don't really have an LGS local and, or
Mhm.
don't even have anybody to really play
Yeah,
with, there's a lot of different possibilities for people to play online. But it's not quite the same, as being able to play in person and sit across from someone and actually have conversations. And I
exactly.
think that was probably my favorite part of the Atlanta DLC was just being able to sit down across the table
Mhm.
from somebody never met before and just strike up a conversation
Yeah.
and just happened to be playing Lorcana at the time. So
What's crazy is I went to the DLC in Chicago, and it's like I don't know who you are, but we are friends because we're playing
yep,
Lorcana.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
It's
and
like, yeah,
I, it feels like that's just kind of something that's kind of ingrained in the community too. People are like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, everybody's welcome to come, let's sit down, let's play, you still have those really competitive, folks that like sit down and they're there to play. And that but then you also have people that it's kind of a balance, right?
Yeah.
You still want to play and have fun, but
Oh yeah.
you still want to compete. I mean, it's a game. You want to win,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of
Part
the
of fun
point.
is winning. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like yeah. I I I feel like I can like turn a switch to become more competitive or more social,
Hmm.
but I am not gonna lie, I'm definitely more on the competitive side of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. How'd you do in Chicago?
I did terribly. I
Yeah.
got
Well,
12
welcome to the club.
points.
Oh my gosh.
I was there all day and ran into squirrel after squirrel
Oh,
after
yeah,
squirrel.
that's right. Still the Bucky stuff. Oh no. Oof.
Squeak
That's
the squeak
rough.
the squeaking. Don't translate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get nerfing him. They
Hmm.
did go a little overboard.
Yeah,
But I mean, when you have something that's, potentially making it not fun for people to play against,
yeah.
then, you kind of got to do something. But
They did it. I'm completely neutral on it. I I'm just completely neutral on Bucky. It
yeah,
is what it is.
yeah,
It's what they chose to do about it, and so that's what it is.
yeah. Well, and I know some of the people from Ravensburger have a past with TCGs, and they've kind of done
Hmm.
some of this stuff before.
Oh yeah.
But I imagine when you have a game that's slightly different in how it plays and the approach to certain things, when you start to consider errata and trying to
Yeah.
to fix things,
Hmm.
you kind of have to take a slightly different approach. But
Yeah. And Disney is in this. Like,
yep,
this is Disney. This is Disney's card game. Disney has a say in everything that happens.
yep.
And I love Disney. Disney's fantastic. You guys are a company, but you guys make mistakes. And I don't think there are a lot of people in the Disney side of the business that understands how TCGs work.
Oh, no. I would agree with that. I think they might have some folks that did, but because didn't they have I want to say there was another Disney kind of TCG-ish kind of game that they used to have.
They had an interactive TCG that they had within the parks
Oh yeah, that's
that you
that's
could
what it
kind of
was.
interact with interactable screens. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah,
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 whole different beast.
it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world
Jeez.
for Disney.
Gotta work it in there, right?
A
So I'm interested, have you seen any kind of trends already in Shimmering Skies? People leaning towards certain kinds of decks. I mean, obviously Hyper Aggro's been kind of one of the big ones that's come up, but what about anything else?
Yeah, so hyper, like you said, hyper aggro has kind of been very popular.
Mhm.
It hasn't necessarily been performing.
Okay.
Interestingly. So the the deck that is showcasing Daisy Duck right now is Steel Song.
Hmm.
Steel Song has definitely blown up because of Daisy. It's become the aggro deck. I don't think Hyper Aggro will be the aggro deck of the meta. I think that will be the aggressive version of Steel Song because you can play Steel Song 20 different ways.
Oh yeah.
Um, but that's kind of where we're at with that. Um, Fort or uh in response to that, Sapphire Ruby kind of builds up in power as well because
Mhm.
Ruby Sapphire is pretty good against these kind of aggro matchups because they can put down a Be Prepared on turn 4.
Right. Just kind of
Um,
wipe it.
yeah, just
Yeah.
okay, cool. You have 10 lore. You now have no hand and no board. I'll
Hmm.
put down two lore character, removal, removal, removal. Um, One deck that I'm really excited and I hope it sticks around is Emerald Sapphire. This just
Okay.
kind of empty out your hand ramping and
Mhm.
then play Clarabelle to just refill your hand
Clarabelle.
as like a
Yep.
one-sided whole new world.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so right now the meta right now feels like it's either Steel Song or Sapphire X decks.
Hmm. Okay.
With um, I don't think Ruby Amethyst has been solved yet. So once Ruby Amethyst is solved, then it's gonna be solved. It's gonna come back. It always does.
Yeah.
Um, Emerald Amethyst has great pieces. Again, I don't think it's quite solved yet either, but I think it's getting pretty close.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, we're only
yeah,
what, 2 weeks in
we're
or
only two
so.
weeks in. But yeah, so Sapphire pretty much works with every single color except Amber right now.
Okay.
Because I mean
Makes
we got
sense.
blur, yeah, because Sapphire is the only color that does a very important thing in this format, which is get you more resources,
Hmm.
and it's the best at that. It's the best at getting you a lot of ink,
Yep. Yep.
and it's really good at drawing cards. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it does two of the things that you want to do, which is develop resources, develop hand advantage, and then the third thing is you want to develop board advantage, and that's what the second ink is for.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of shakes out for
Yeah.
the other ones that are still kind of in the mix.
Hmm.
It seems like everybody's, throwing out decks these days, which I mean,
Oh
of
yeah.
course, it happens at the beginning of a new set. You got all
Yeah.
sorts of fun new toys to play with. So,
I will say that this coming weekend and these like next couple weeks, there are several major events happening.
mhm,
Um, well, first off, we have DLC Toronto, which yes, the main event is still Ursula's return format minus the Bucky,
mhm.
but the side events are all Shimmering Skies.
Okay.
We'll probably be looking at those side events, those side constructed events, see what metas pop up in there.
Mhm.
There's a 10K in Georgia as well.
Oh
So
yeah, I think I
there's
saw about that. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's a couple big tournaments in Europe that's happening, one in Scotland. So I think after this coming weekend, or maybe even the weekend after, I think we're going to have a pretty decent picture on what the meta is going to look like going into Birmingham and Las Vegas.
Okay. I look forward to it. There's always some interesting stuff that comes out.
Oh, yeah, and there's always spice. There's always
Oh
spice.
yeah.
I
Yes,
mean,
definitely.
Red Fossa 101K over the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, like,
Like, all
because why
right, well,
not?
and that's something to be said for being able to, know how to really handle your deck too.
Oh yeah,
It's one thing to say, oh, these are the decks that are kind of the meta right now, but to be able to actually really play them is kind of a different story sometimes.
absolutely. Like 70% of the reason why a player succeeds is because they know how to play their deck
Hmm.
and they know how to respond. And 30% of it's the deck.
Yeah.
Give or take, depending on archetype, depending on meta, depending on
And a small little sliver of luck in there.
oh, it's like 29% luck. It's it's a lot of luck.
Yeah, yeah.
I do not have that lucky trait.
Uh,
I am a very unlucky person when it comes to TCGs, but we have fun.
Well, and we always joke, my younger son, for some reason, he has got luck on his side. And I don't know what it is. We always joke that when he gets old enough, we're taking him to Vegas.
Yeah.
But, in the past, let's see, I guess the past three sets, he's opened at least one pack with an enchanted in it for me. Because we'll sit down and, open the box and he'll start, opening them up and everything. And so I made a dangerous commitment this next time, not for Shimmering Skies, but for whatever the next set ends up
Hmm.
being, is that if he opens one with an enchanted, we can sell it and he can get the money for it. Now,
Oh,
he's
well, that's dangerous.
I know I was like, maybe I shouldn't have made that promise, but
Yeah, I was gonna say
he's gonna
maybe.
remember that. So
Oh yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. No, he's unfortunately he's not, as interested in the game itself, but you know, open impacts is always fun. So I don't
Oh
care who
yeah,
you
it's
are,
always fun to
ripping
crack
into them
packs.
and looking through them, and yeah.
I mean,
But
even just the art, just the art's
oh
always
yeah,
pretty.
yeah. Well, and I know we get the card reveals, before, so we kind of get a preview of it, but to be able to
Mhm.
like see a foiled version of it, and to
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
see the enchanted, I don't have one from this set, but to be able to see kind of the patterning and everything on them,
Mhm.
it's so cool.
Yeah. I really like what they did with the legendaries for Shimmering Skies with the little
Yes.
pop out
Hmm.
texture.
I like
I
how
like that.
I don't know if it like kind of flew under the radar or what, but like I opened the first couple of packs and pulled out a legendary and I was like, huh, that's pretty cool. A little
Mhm.
unexpected.
Yeah, it was a thing that was kind of like it didn't get leaked that well that
Hmm.
quickly. I think there was like one YouTuber that like cracked boxes like a day before release and was like, "Yo, these have texture." But like, yeah, it
Yep.
was a really cool surprise.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a nice like addition.
Mhm.
It's something different, but it's not like, hits you over the head like it's a completely different style or
Yeah,
anything. But
absolutely.
yeah, it's pretty neat. I look forward to having more cards like that in the future.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Do you know what the do you have you opened an enchanted for Shimmering Skies yet?
I have not, no.
Okay, I was gonna ask if the enchanteds were textured.
I think they are. I'm not sure. I think they're
Oh gosh, that'd be so cool.
like the what was it, the Dragonfire from the DLCs that had the little bit of texture to it. I don't know
Oh,
where
I
mine
had
is.
one. I don't remember there being texture.
Yeah, it may have just
It
been.
had like a unique like foiling swirl to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, the that kind of stuff. I don't think the Enchanteds do though. Was gonna
Okay.
look for my mm, no, I don't know where my Dragonfire is. I have my my little stack of special cards in my
Oh,
hard case
fancy.
there. So
I
that's
see. I
where
see.
the Enchanteds go and everything. Um so if somebody was starting to look for an interesting combo or a Shimmering Skies kind of base deck, is there anything in particular that you can think of that would be kind of a fun combo to explore?
So, there are a couple fun combos that you can find within Shimmering Skies. One of them is Knights.
Mm-hmm.
The Knights deck, so you had like the seven dwarves and the dwarves mine. They're really good and limited. I'm not entirely sure how well they do in constructed. You compare them with the dwarves package all the way from Floodborn in Amber. So you could have this kind of fun Amber Steel dwarves deck
Okay.
that you could do. Um, what's interesting with that though is like one interacts well with the other, but the other doesn't necessarily interact well with the first one.
Hmm.
Um, not sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is. Um, you could also go hyenas, which is fun. The start
I'm
based on
enjoying
the
that
starter
in the
deck.
deck that I
Yeah,
have. Yep.
like I like the hyenas. I like the hyena deck. Um, honestly, just I've been kind of working with meta instead of fun right now,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
those are the two decks that I've been looking at and going like, that sounds like if I had a fun social league, I would definitely bring this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the hyena deck, I mean, I'm sure you've seen I've been posting about it for a lot,
but yeah,
but is the one with some Robin Hoods on the other side.
yeah,
Just kind of keep that damage stuff going and pinging everything and it seems to work out pretty well.
yeah.
It's not going to win any major competitions, but it's fun.
No, it's fun.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, we did mention some of your background in other TCGs and stuff. Are there any mechanics from other games, Magic, or if you've played, other ones more, that you think would be something interesting to include in Lorcana in the future?
Yeah. So, um, one of the mechanics that came up in Star Wars Unlimited, a relatively newer game as well, was the smuggle mechanic, where you can play
Mm.
a card basically from your inkwell for an extra cost.
Okay.
Um, it doesn't necessarily work well with the way that the rules are written right now,
Mhm.
because you can't look at your inkwell in Star Wars Unlimited. You're allowed to,
Okay.
and so you're able to play the cards from that resource pool, that face down resource.
Hmm.
Um, I I like the concept with the names. I think with the way that they have it set up, where you can name a card and all the characters with that name count towards it, I
Hmm.
feel like they can do a lot with that. Even down to things like um cards with duck in their name do
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
And so like even then, like, it counts for Daisy Duck and Don Duck, but it also counts for duck for cover, because duck is in the
That's
name.
true.
So
That's
it could be
true.
something like cards with duck in their name cost one less.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of cool things we can do with that. Um Honestly, I'm really excited to see if and how they put Illumineers into the game.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm kind of like we have Martin, Shanzay, and Venturo,
Hmm.
and I'm like, how are they going to implement these? Or are they just going to be story points? And I'd be fine either way with it.
Yeah.
Um, Finally, one mechanic that I want to see is dual color, dual ink cards that you can
Hmm.
only play within that color pair.
What do you mean?
So so if I have a card that's Emerald and Sapphire, I can only
Right.
play it in an Emerald Sapphire deck.
Okay. I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be kind of a good way to balance it a little bit. So you're not
Yeah.
just, leaving the floodgates wide open for,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting. It would be a cool way to see how each ink pair interacts,
Hmm.
because like I'm still not entirely sure how Amber and Sapphire are supposed to interact. Like I
Yeah.
don't know how those two ink pairs interact well with each other. Ruby and Steel, that makes sense. Pirates fighting, cool.
Hmm.
Um, but like things like Sapphire and Amethyst, I don't know how those inks flavor wise mix well. And I think these dual ink cards would be a really cool way to help show that aspect of the world building of the game.
Hmm. Kind of bridge that or lay
Yeah,
out that bridge, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be cool. Yeah. I've never played like any other TCGs like really heavily before. But that is definitely something that I've heard a lot of them do, to have something
Hmm.
like that. So it's pretty much inevitable, I would think, but we
I
thought
mean,
we were going to get it with that stitch, the steel, what was it, a
oh
steel
yeah,
stitch with
yeah,
the
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 Steel
amethyst
Stitch.
flag.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it was I don't think we're going to see anything like that until well into the future, like until
Yeah.
after Pixar.
Okay. Okay. And that's
But
2025, right?
2026.
Oh, 26. That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're getting
yeah.
Pixar in 2026. That means they have sets designed all the way up to
Yeah.
2026.
Because that'll be like 11 or 12, or I
Yeah,
don't know what
sets
set
11,
that'll be.
12-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, it sounds like it's a long way away, but I
But
mean,
we're
really,
already on 5.
yeah, I
Like
know, right?
we're halfway there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Oh,
But yeah.
yeah. Well, cool. So we've talked a lot about, the community around the game and everything. I'd love to get like from your perspective, what do you think is like one of the best parts or the part that you enjoy the most about being in the Lorcana community?
Oh gosh, what am I not a fan of in this community? Um like it this community is very, very wholesome and fantastic, almost to a fault. Um, there are some talks about like toxic positivity being a thing in the
Hmm.
community and stuff like that. I was like, I mean, sometimes yeah, but like you have that stuff in everything. You have you
Right.
if I wanted to, I could nitpick the Lorcana community to bits. but I'm not going to because it's a fantastic community. Um, the OG content creators are building up new ones. The new content creators are inspiring other content creators. Even outside of content creators, we have people who haven't shown their face at all, still doing incredible things within our community.
Hmm.
Um, One member of our community uh decided to make an entire online client for the game.
Yep.
Like stuff like that, yeah, stuff like that happens in other TCGs, but this is our TCG and this is our community, and it just feels a
Hmm.
whole lot more personal. And it might be because maybe it's because I'm in here at the start, but like it it feels like a little baby. It's like
Yep.
it's my family, it's my child. This whole community is
Yep.
just my children, even though you're all older than me.
Well, and it's cool to see, the evolution of the game too, right? The
Oh, for
first set,
sure.
it's like, kind of basic TCG,
Yeah.
it had its rules and everything, but now you get, fun little add-ons and see the
Hmm.
game grow and, add new features
Yeah.
and I mean, honestly, I forget who was saying it, but just the fact that they have announced Pixar, that far in advance,
Hmm.
shows that they are in this for the long
Oh yeah.
haul. This is not like a money grab by Disney or anything, where they're like, yeah, we'll just make a couple of sets and see what happens. This
Yeah.
is like years planned
Yeah.
out. So,
Disney has now seen the profitability and the potential within it, that they're willing to host world championships at their parks. They're
hmm.
willing to integrate their other properties into it. Like we've made it. Like we've gotten past the we're out of the metaphorical cradle
Right,
of
right.
whatever, and now we're walking. We got alternate floodborne shift costs. We've got locations that interact with characters. We have
Hmm.
cards with abilities that we didn't even think were possible. Like we are now going, and I am excited. Excuse me. I am really excited to see what the future holds for this game. Pirates in set 6.
I know
Yar.
it's like the whole water or seafaring or whatever the theme
Yeah.
is for it. So
I th
that'll be
I think it was
interesting.
just sea, like just water,
Just like generic, yeah.
just
Well,
like
and
yeah.
and
Did we
it's
get
funny. I think I was talking to Jared from Citizens of the Lorcana.
my boy
Um,
Jared?
and we were saying that I think from the announcement the other day at D23, they also said that like rescue rangers were coming.
Yes,
And then
Rescue
it's
Rangers.
like, okay,
Get
but then
them
how does that
down.
fit in with the whole water sea theme? It's like, no, 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 there's plenty of room.
There's plenty of room. I mean,
Yeah.
for they're flying over the open sea, like
Hmm. Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know. All I know is it's ocean theme, and we're getting the Mickey Mouse game as pirates,
Yeah.
and and like for all we we know Pixar's coming in the future. Jack Sparrow.
Eh, I'm not crazy with the idea of,
Live
now if they
action, yeah.
kind of make them, turn them into characters,
Oh yeah.
that might be okay, but
Yeah, I'd be down for that. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for crying out, like if you told me like 2 years ago, whenever they first announced this, like, oh hey, by the way, set 5, we're gonna have Mickey Mouse as a pirate. Oh, and it's going to be because a bunch of ink flowed over him, so
Hmm.
he's now like an alternate universe pirate captain.
You'd be like, hmm? What? Sorry?
I'm like, what kind of Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
What
Yeah, I
kind of
see
Kingdom Hearts bull is this?
I see a lot of people, making the cross references between
Hmm.
those. Yeah.
Well, it's very easy to do, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's
No.
I am very excited to see what Ravensburger and Disney have in store for this game.
Yep.
The fact that they are being so creative mechanically and flavorfully
Mhm.
within the first 5 sets, I am so excited to see what
Yeah.
the next sit five have in store.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing, like, when we first started out, we had the first set and then Floodborne and, everything. It was really interesting to me to see, when it finally got to the fact that it was Ursula, there at the end, to
Mhm.
go back and look at the previous sets and be
Like the
like,
Duke of
oh,
Wesselton.
yeah, yeah, or the Mickey Detective card.
Yep.
It's like, oh, they were working that all in, all from the
Hmm.
beginning. That's kind of crazy to
Yeah,
have
right.
a narrative built into the cards
Hmm.
themselves. It's not just like this overlay, they said, okay, we've got these characters that, live in this world and then there's the game.
Yeah.
It's like it's all kind of intertwined.
Yeah. And like they are setting up with Shimmering Skies. There's like four potential villains that could be the next big bad.
Yes.
You got Jafar that's going for the Hexwell crown. You have the queens that are making a castle, like a council
Hmm.
of the queens together. You got
Yep.
Magica with the trident. Like you got and yeah, it's there's a lot of there's a lot of setup happening
Yep.
with this
Yep.
set. And at the same time, we're like, okay, bam, chromacons, boom, ink spheres, boom,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
bunch of extra lore. Also, there's a party happening and there's race cars
Hmm.
everywhere.
Yep. It's crazy. And I love it because I wonder how much they're gonna bring, like, if it's gonna be like, okay, the Ursula arc is done. We're not gonna
Hmm.
refer to the cards back from, Ursula and before anymore. We're only gonna move forward. I'm wondering if they're gonna bring in some of that too, like if there's stuff from set three that
Hmm.
relates to whatever the next big bad is.
I
So
feel like there is.
yeah, it
Because
wouldn't
like even
surprise
in
me.
because like even in set four, we have a Hades card that's going like, ah yes, while Ursula is
Yep.
distracting everyone, I shall enact my plan. And then the next
Hmm.
time we see him, he's arm wrestling Hercules, and I'm like,
Yep.
eh,
Yep. Yep. That's the one that you didn't mention, that's my hope is Hades,
yeah.
but I don't think there's quite as much leading up to him as there are to some of the other ones right now, but
But I
we'll see.
hope I hope that they do like an Illumineers quest every year,
Oh yeah.
and the villain decks are able to be shuffled all together.
Oh, that
I
can
feel
be
like that would be
interesting.
really cool.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
then, like, you could slowly just develop this massive amount that's just massive villains deck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one time it's an evil Mickey. No, no.
And an alternate Mickey. Yes, he's
Aha!
not evil. He's just, not the same Mickey.
All the other Mickeys are wrong.
There you
I will
go.
rule
Nice.
Lorcana.
Oh, well, hey, man, thank you so much for sitting down and having a chat with me. I appreciate it. I've had a great
Absolutely, man.
time. I do like to end these with the same three questions. So right now, your favorite ink and card?
Ooh, favorite ink right now is Sapphire because surprise, surprise, I'm a nerd. And favorite card right now is interestingly Merlin Rabbit. I
Okay,
it's it draws so many cards.
going for the classic. Yep.
It draws so many cards. It's lovely, and I have rabbits, so it's kind
Yeah.
of connected that way too.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my those that's my favorite ink and card.
Okay. All right. We mentioned Disney movies earlier. Favorite Disney movie and why?
Oh, so it literally depends on how I'm feeling. But today I'm gonna say Lilo and Stitch. It's
Okay.
just it's a great it's just a good film. The art, the animation's gorgeous. The story is fantastic. Um, just all of it's fantastic. And then the series that came with it afterwards is so good.
Yeah.
The anime
Yeah.
is really good too. Just pretty much everything Lilo and Stitch is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. I hadn't, I hadn't watched it in forever,
Mhm.
before, kind of really getting into Lorcana. And then of course there's just, Lilo and Stitch everywhere.
Oh yeah,
And so I went back and I was like, oh, this is such a great movie. I
so
really like it.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, last question. Tell people where they can find you, find all the great stuff you do for the community.
Yeah, so if you ever want to figure out what I'm talking about and care about my opinion, you can find me on the site formerly known as Twitter as Nive the Nerd with underscores. It is Nive Nive, as you can see kind of right here, if
Mhm.
this is still here.
It
And
is.
then on the YouTubes, I have Knives Nerd Corner, which is kind of replace this space approximately here with an S, and you'll find it on the YouTubes. So that is where you will find me. You can also find me on
Awesome.
most Discords that are Lorcana related.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen you around.
I like to talk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that oh God, I'm sure there's ones that I'm not in too, but I have
Oh
like
gosh, there's so many.
14 now or 15. Oh my gosh, I can't keep up with them all. I have to just mark all as red after a while because, yeah, there's no way. But
My headphones are constantly a state of bling, 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 bling.
yep, yep. All right, cool. Well, thank you again so much. I appreciate it. Had fun,
Absolutely.
and I'll see you around the community.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. If you liked what you heard, make sure to subscribe and rate or like us on your platform of choice. If you'd like to reach out to the show, you can email us at lorcanachats@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter or X at LorcanaChats, the podcast at podcast.lorcanachats.com, or just lorcanachats.com. We love feedback on the show, and let us know if there's anyone you'd like to hear from in the Lorcana community. See you next time.